In this video, we're going to start our discussion of derivatives by thinking about derivatives as the rate of change